Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. I received a comment on my last video to start doing weekly reviews for the upcoming games and also to start doing a Heisman watch. So that's exactly what we're going to do for this upcoming week 3. It officially begins tonight on Friday. I got a couple good games. I got Illinois traveling down to South Florida and Arizona playing UTEP later tonight. But I'm going to focus more on the big games that start tomorrow on Saturday. We'll start with the first big one in my opinion. Tennessee at Florida, number 23, number 24 in the country. Tennessee has really impressed me especially. I have predicted them correctly. I had them beating Georgia Tech and then winning the following week over Indiana State, I believe. Florida, I did miss that game. I had them beating Michigan. They were off last week because of Hurricane Irma. They did not play their game. But they get an extra week to prepare for this Tennessee game that could potentially affect the winner of the SEC East. Georgia is obviously up there as a front runner as well. But I think if Florida loses this, they're in deep trouble because they still have to face Georgia and a Kentucky team that I do pick them to lose to. Tennessee, last year they snapped their losing streak to Florida, managed to beat Florida and Georgia, and yet somehow still lost the division. So the loser of this game is not necessarily out of the race, but it will be very nice for them to get one of these wins. In my predictions, I picked Florida, and I'm going to stand by that for now. Hopefully they can get their offense figured out. LSU travels to Mississippi State in a very exciting game, in my opinion. This is really the first test for both teams. I know LSU did face BYU in Week 1. This is their first conference matchup for them. Mississippi State, led by Nick Fitzgerald at quarterback. I'm very excited to watch him play against LSU's defense, see how he can prepare for that, how he reacts to that. Matt Canada at LSU trying to rejuvenate that offense. Darius Geis is a workhorse. I'm going to stick with Mississippi State right now. I picked them in my original video, and I do like that. I like that it's at home. It's a night game. I think it's at 6 o'clock. Those cowbells are going to be ringing. And I think Mississippi State can be a very dangerous team against an LSU team that we still don't know too much about. This will be the first test for both teams, like I said. I'm going to stick with Mississippi State. But keep an eye on that one. It could be a potential upset, or LSU might blow them out of the water. Who knows? Texas at number 4 USC. This is the first time they have met since that classic 2006 Rose Bowl national championship game. Vince Young led the Longhorns over USC in that game, won the national title over them. I believe Pete Carroll was still the head coach of USC. Reggie Bush was the running back there. Texas makes the trip out there this year. Completely different scenario for both teams. Texas unranked. USC kind of found their way back into the national spotlight. Tom Herman obviously has a very tough game traveling to USC. USC struggled in their opener. Texas lost their opener to Maryland, which surprised me. Both teams bounced back last week. USC more so than Texas. They defeated Stanford, while Texas defeated San Jose State. I'm going to stick with USC. It's a very tough game. It's a long way to travel for Texas. It's going to be a very tough game for them. Hopefully they can keep it close, make it interesting. But for right now, I'm going to stick with USC. And then the biggest game of the night, by far, is where College Game Day is heading this week. Number 3, Clemson, and number 14, Louisville. Lamar Jackson, some say he's doing much better this season than he was doing last season when he won the Heisman. Last year's game was a thriller, if you remember. Came down to the wire. Clemson ended up escaping with that one at Death Valley. This year they had to travel to the Cardinals. In my original picks, I picked Louisville. Wasn't really sure what to expect out of Clemson. Clemson's defense has amazed me this season. We saw how well they did against a dual-threat quarterback last week when they defeated Auburn and Jarrett Stidham. Can they do the same against Louisville and Lamar Jackson? We'll have to wait and find out. Right now, I want to keep my upset pick with Louisville, but it would not surprise me. I really was borderline this week with this game because Kelly Bryant and Clemson have done a great job, and I could see them also winning this game. But I know Bobby Petrino and Lamar Jackson are going to have the Cardinals hyped up. It's going to be a crazy crowd, a crazy night. I can see Louisville pulling off this upset. And down here briefly, I'll just touch up on my Heisman watch. These guys are in no specific order, but most of them are obviously quarterbacks, all but one in Saquon Barkley. Baker Mayfield, quarterback of Oklahoma, really improved his case last week with that win over Ohio State. They face Tulane this week. That's just a stat game. Hopefully you can put a bunch of numbers there. Lamar Jackson and Sam Darnold, two the teams I mentioned here. Lamar Jackson facing Clemson, Sam Darnold facing Texas. Both very big games that if they can really perform well and put up some good stats, they could see themselves rise in the rankings. The Heisman watch. Saquon Barkley, Penn State's facing Georgia State this week. That's another stat game. Hopefully he can rush for about 200 yards, kind of pad that resume a little bit going into conference play. And then Mason Rudolph, the quarterback at Oklahoma State, they face Pittsburgh on a road game. That, if you remember, Pittsburgh, I believe, won that game last year, if I'm correct. And Mason Rudolph, if he can go on the road and put some big numbers against a Pittsburgh defense, that would be really impressive. Hopefully he can pad his case there because he's got a very dangerous offense. James Washington there at wide receiver. I'm very excited to watch them play in the Big 12. And then Josh Rosen, I don't think he's thrown an interception yet this season. Defeated A&M earlier in the season. He is facing Memphis on the road. They're number 25 nationally, and that could be a potential trap game for them. So it would be really nice for Rosen to go on the road, kind of blow Memphis out of the water, put up some big stats, hopefully keep the interception total at 0, and he can continue to rise in the ranks as well. But most of these guys are quarterbacks. I could really see it coming down at the end of the season to Mayfield, Jackson, Darnold, and maybe Rudolph. And then someone else, if you want to throw him in there. My money would be on Barkley more so than Rosen. He hasn't really played any conference games yet, so I'm curious to see how he does there. But these guys are the cream of the crop right here. And I'm very excited to watch them play, especially as we get more into conference play. So keep an eye on them, and keep an eye on these top 4 games here. Biggest one, Clemson, Louisville. All going to be very exciting to watch, so keep an eye on them. And if your team's playing a game, I know we got a couple other big games. Oklahoma State, Pittsburgh, Wisconsin's traveling to BYU. So there are a couple bigger games spread throughout the day, but these were the ones I felt were most important. So keep an eye on them. And thank you for watching. Continue to keep in touch with the Gridiron Expert. We're going to keep doing weekly recaps and weekly previews like we just started today. Love that guy for giving me that comment. So we're going to keep doing those. So make sure you keep watching, and please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on the Gridiron Expert.